Hey everybody, welcome back to U.S. History with Mr. Finn. We are taking a deep look into how the economy works today. Don't let that scare you. We are looking at this time period of the late 1800s where big business is taking off. And some of the most famous people in America are these big business owners who find some new invention or find some new way of doing things, create a business in which people need the product that they're selling. And we're going to see this transformation from the household economy where you make everything at home to a market economy finally finish. We had started to see some of that in the late 1700s and through the 1800s a little bit. Remember, we knew the industrialization was happening in the North. But once we get done with the Civil War and we're in those late 1800s, 1880 to 1910, in that 30-year span, as I said, not last class, but the one before that, everything kind of speeds up. And so we're going to take a look at the two most famous people from this time period. There was a number of other ones there's two terms to use for people like these two men. One is robber barons, meaning that they, not a very nice term. And the other one is a captain of industry. One has a more negative viewpoint on these rich men who just create so much money and all they care about is money, and that's money, money, money. But also captains of industry. Hey, look at these great men who have, risen to these great heights. So because we have such a in-depth class, let me just jump right into this. Let's go with Andrew Carnegie first. Andrew Carnegie is going to be a steel man. I'll just say controls steel, all right? Rockefeller is going to control oil. I can tell you a little bit about these two men, about how this comes to pass. Basically, steel is a more solid material than like iron or other metals. But it was really, really, really expensive to create steel until Andrew Carnegie had a person who worked for him who showed him this process. It's called the Bessemer process. I don't know if you really need to know it, but steel. Bessemer process makes steel cheap. So maybe I'll ask you what the process is, but I'll explain it really quick. Basically, you melt these components down, and then you blast it with like cool air or something along those lines. But basically, it makes steel very easy and very quickly, and it just drops the price of steel. And the point is, everybody wanted steel. Everyone wanted to make their bridges out of steel. Everyone wanted to make everything out of steel, buildings out of steel, everything out of steel. But it was just so expensive that it would just bankrupt your company. But now, you could buy steel cheap. And you know who's the one person selling it? Andrew Carnegie. So Andrew Carnegie's like, listen, I got all the steel you want. Come on and buy it. So every company that was building anything bought steel from him, which means that you can imagine if every building, every bridge, everything that you see built around you needed steel, and they were all buying it from this one person across America, he's extraordinarily rich. Same thing goes for oil. John D. Rockefeller was big into the oil mining industry, but it was kind of a hit or miss job. If you know anything about oil mining, you see the things and oil shoots out of the ground and sprays everywhere. You think there's oil there, you drill for it, and hopefully it's there. If it's not, you just wasted a bunch of money. And Rockefeller's like, listen, people are starting to use oil, like refined oil, petroleum, basically what we would consider gasoline, for everything, for like lamps in their homes and whatever. So oil refinery is really what John Rockefeller does. So he's an oil man. He controls the oil that is in America. Anyone who has a lamp, who needs to fuel it with oil or anything, every single house would have his oil in it. So it's the same thing with Rockefeller or Carnegie, where everyone is needing him to build. Everyone is needing him for oil. So like if one person has control over these industries, imagine if you owned every gas station. Every single one. They had to pay you. You know how rich you would be? You'd be the richest man ever. Would be the richest, more rich than Bezos or, any of them of today. Tesla. These men, in comparison, are on that level. These are like, they just get crazy rich. They rise to this level. And these are two examples of what is happening during this time period. The change in society, these two men find products that everyone needs, and then they make boatloads of money. Now, this is going to bring us to how our economy works, all right? Now, follow me here. Our economic system, we have a democracy as our government. Our economic system is called capitalism. Capitalism is run. This is based on a free market. Let me explain. Remember I said market economy, a free market. Our economy means anybody. It's free. It's a free market. Guess what? If you want to start a business, go ahead. You can start a business. You can get into the economic system all you want. Could be, starting a maid service. It could be starting we don't have lawns here, but lawn mowing service. It could be, it could be anything. It could be any business you want to start, knock yourself out. You do whatever you want to do. You can enter the market. You can exit the market. You can do anything you want to try and make. Free market. You're about making money. It is profit motive. That is your goal, is to make as much money as possible. And you know who is not going to stand in your way? The government. Now, there's a fancy term here. It's laissez faire. It's very simple. Just means hands off. And who am I talking about when I say hands off? Who did I just say? The government. No government regulation or rules. /rules. That's the idea. Hey, we have a free market, laissez-faire. The government's hands off. The market is free from government interference. These men or you or anyone can be involved in it. No one will tell you what you have to do, what you can or can't do. It is basically, here's the deal. If you make that moolah, then you are successful. Good for you. If you don't, the market will put you out of business because people are not buying your product. And so, in the end, that's how capitalism, our economic system, is supposed to work. And I say supposed to because we're going to see some differences in some regulations that do come from the government, and I'm going to explain how we get to that. Basically, though, for today, what you need to understand is this. Great men like this, or bad men like this, depending on how you want to view it, are successful in a capitalist society in which it is laissez-faire, or government does not get involved. They allow everyone to fight it out. If I make more money than you, I'm the winner, you're the loser. And that brings us to our last term, social Darwinism. And that's why this is a big complex thing. Darwinism, if you have science class, or if you have had science class, was based on Charles Darwin and the idea of evolution, meaning that species evolve over time from one species to another species. And the idea is what is successful about a species will allow it to succeed. Follow me, all right? The term, if you haven't seen it already, is natural selection. So I'm getting a little bit scientific on you, but I'm going to bring it back to us in a second. Natural selection is the idea that one species has been selected to succeed because they have a specific advantage of some kind. I don't know what it is. I have I have 6 fingers. That makes me better in some way. Eventually we'll all have 6 fingers. That success will then will go on through time till eventually you will see everyone has now not 5 fingers but 6 fingers on one hand. This is a stupid example, but that's the point. Something makes a species better. That species then succeeds and lives. The other one dies out and goes extinct. Let's put that on to business now. Think of it as companies. There are two companies. One company is more successful than the other, so this one succeeds and makes money. But what happens to the other one? Based on social Darwinism, it goes extinct. It dies. It goes out of business. It's over. They didn't make money. They were not as good as this one. And that is the idea of social Darwinism based on natural selection. These companies fight it out. We have, let me do squares here. These squares are factories. There are 4 factories right here. All right? This one is a little bit smaller. So, this one buys this one out, meaning that this company now controls this. Well, it just got a lot bigger. They're being a little more successful. They dropped the prices of the product. This business can't succeed. They're like, oh no, I can't succeed. I'm not doing as well. I have not been selected to do as well. So this company that has now bought this one now takes over this one as well, leaving only one little company to fight this one big company that has started just from this one, but is now expanded to control all of this. And they say, listen, we're putting you out of business, buddy, because then we have a monopoly, meaning like we have complete control over this product, whatever it is. So they eventually take them, meaning that one company won, making money the best. They were the best company for whatever reason. They won the fight against their other competitors, and they put them out of business, and they were naturally selected to be, better for whatever reason, and they succeeded in this free market where it's all based on competition. Competition. Who's better at selling products? Who's better at making products? Who's better at advertising products? Who's better at making money? Who's better at making money? That is who succeeds. This is going to start a problem, though. Other ideas of economy, or the idea of what an economy could be, start to sprout up during this time. We're going to see anarchists. We're going to see socialism pop up. We're going to see the creation of communism, because they all look at this and they say to themselves, what's the issue here? Because there is one issue when you look at this. And this is why we do have government regulation at this point. The idea is basically this. The idea of social Darwinism is like only the strongest, best will succeed. And if the strongest and the best are always succeeding, eventually you're going to start to see a little more of these guys. All right? Little top-end guys who's like, listen, Johnny Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie have millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. But the average everyday person doesn't have much. We're going to look at why that happens, but what are these guys, what's their only care in the world? What's the one thing they want to do more than anything? Back to making money. So how do you make money? Well, you got to pay your workers. Well, what if we pay them less? What if we do this? What if we do that? We're going to skimp around every little way we can do anything to try and make more money. So what's going to end up happening is some people are going to suffer at the hands of this system, and those people are going to be really the workers. Workers will suffer. Because the workers, there's a lot of people in the north now. Remember, we had a lot of immigration. We had a lot of newly freed slaves move north into these big business areas, these big cities that were starting industry. So there's a lot of workers. If you don't want to work for $5 a day, no big deal. That guy will want to work for $5 a day. You're fired. Come on in here and you work. Oh, you don't want to work for $5? That guy will work for $4 a day. So I'm going to try and pay my workers the littlest bit I can, because I'm trying to do what? Make money. And so the workers, who are the everyday people, are going to end up suffering through the system that is based on, no government interaction, no government regulation. We're just, companies are trying to make as much money as possible. So you're going to start to see very few people have like all of the money in our country. And the average everyday, 97% of people are going to be suffering because they just can't have, they don't make enough money to do what they need to do. So Anyway, you did some work last time, so today I just want to see these notes turned in. It was a lot to kind of unpack there with capitalism. But we'll be looking at this again. We'll be looking at communism and socialism and other ideas that are not based on this and based on the opposite. Well, if this is government hands-off, what if we have government hands-on? And we'll look at that as well. So for participation and attendance purposes, turn this in today. You guys are doing great work, and I will see you next class.